What's up, everybody, and welcome to our full set review of Kaldheim for Limited. I'm Ethan, Lord Tupper from Lord's Limited Podcast. I'm joined, as always, by Alex Nikolic, aka Calls from the Limited Level Ups Podcast. Here's the deal for today. We are going to be going through every single card from Kaldheim, evaluating it for Limited, but we're going to be doing a couple things different from other set reviews. Now, if you've seen our set reviews recently, you'll be aware of the fact that we do our sorting by color, rarity, and then CMC rather than by alphabet. We feel like that gives us a better sense of what's going on in that color and what that may mean for Limited. But today we're doing something super, super different. We are not going to be doing letter grades for the cards. Instead, we're going, oh, gasp. Instead, we're going to be doing the 5 R's that we outlined on the podcast a few weeks ago, looking at cards under these 5 different categories of raw power, reasons, rewards, role players, and replaceables. You'll see a tab. If you follow along with our spreadsheet, we'll release that with the Lord's Limited Crash Course. It's available right now in my stream chat. You can see in that spreadsheet, the first tab will give you an idea of like what those R's mean in terms of the normal A through F grading scale. But we think this will be a better way to sort of frame a lot of these cards, and perhaps specifically for this set that looks super, super complex, Alex. I think we're going to have a lot better idea of where cards goes when we give it an R grade, and then we're giving ourselves permission then to give a subcategory grade. So if a thing is a role player, where do we think that is a role player? Is it in aggro? Is it in blue-red wizards? Is it in a specific color? Whatever. So looking at those R's and then perhaps subcategories when necessary. And of course, we may still have some disagreements, so we'll also make note of that in the spreadsheet as well. If you're following along live on the stream, just know that Alex and I are reading all of your comments, and we will respond to them when we see fit or when we feel like that's going to be beneficial, but we're going to try and keep this as just a conversation between the two of us. If you're missing any part of the review, you can find it on the Lord's Limited YouTube channel, and you can also find it on the Limited Level Ups podcast feed. Anything I missed?
I don't think so. I think you covered it all. I mean, I just, just as a little add-on to the spiel here about, the 4 R's here. This is, I think, just moving forward in the landscape of Limited. Like, I think at least for my money, this works a little bit better than letter grades, just because, like you said, things are getting more complex, and we're moving away from cards just being good or bad, right? It's much more about the conversation. It was always about the conversation, but I think even more so now.
Yeah.
I think it's good to batch these cards into like general power level, but really, B- to B+ doesn't matter as much, right? It's really about the place they belong and figuring that out early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So to give us an idea of what's going on with each color pair, we're going to start with the gold uncommons. I mean, get not 1, not 2, but 3.
3, baby,
sort of signposts for each. So we'll be going through card or signpost uncommon, saga, and land for each of these in that order. So first up here, we have Vega the Watcher, which is 1 white blue for a 2/2 legendary creature, bird spirit with flying, and whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, draw a card.
Yeah, so, I mean, the obvious synergy here is Foretell, which is just one of the set's headliner mechanic. And I'm sure most people have seen Foretell, but basically all it says is you can exile a card for 2 from your hand, cast it later from exile, right? And that every time you cast a Foretell spell from exile, you'll draw a card off this. At a baseline, Windrake that draws you a bunch of cards, potentially, that's very good. I'm very excited about this card at a baseline. As far as how good blue-white Foretell stuff is going to be, that's to be foreseen. But I imagine, I imagine it's going to be quite good.
I'm allowing you 3 Foretell puns, and that was 1 already.
Look, I got them all written down on a list here. I got to get to all these before the set review finishes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about this awesome card?
I think it's good. I think the for a lot of these, it's going to be a lot of the multicolor cards. The idea is going to be reason versus reward. They're rarely going to be less than that. And so the question is, does this pull you into blue-white, or does this feel like I'm in blue-white and I get this? And this currently feels like a pretty strong pull for me.
Me too. Yeah, I think this is definitely a reason. Sorry, this is a reason, I think, to be in blue-white. Also, small note, cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand doesn't just mean Foretell. There's 1 or 2 cards that you cast from the grave in this set.
Oh.
So, look out for that too.
Okay. In blue and white?
Yeah, there's one that's like cares about giants or something. No, it's kind of crossover, but it's not exclusive to just foretelling. And standard companions. Yeah. Oh, wait, not anymore. Not anymore. Oh man, I can't even use that.
But yeah, they're not there anymore. Okay.
Anyways, I like this card quite a bit. I'm very excited to play with it. I think it definitely is a reason for being in blue-white.
I agree. All right, what's the saga here for blue-white?
This one, I have some words for this one. So this is Nico Defies Destiny. So this is our first saga, Returning Mechanic Saga. It's 1 blue-white, so 3 mana. The first chapter says you gain 2 life for each foretold card you own in exile. Okay. Second chapter is you add blue and white. Spend this mana only to cast foretell spells or 2 foretell cards. And the third chapter is return target card with foretell from your graveyard to your hand.
There's a lot of hoops, Alex.
Yeah, so there's a lot of sagas in this set. Every color pair gets an uncommon saga and a rare saga. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the things to parse through for this entire set is just like the power level of each saga, because there's some of the sagas are like, wow, that's overtly powerful. There's some that are like this one that are like, that's a lot more like subtle, more synergy based. And obviously synergy based does not mean not powerful. I can see a world where this card is just actually very, very good. I think you likened it to like a Dovin's Acuity style card where it's just like, wow, that gained me a bunch of life and maybe I buy this back a few times, right? Mm-hmm. There are ways to buy back sagas in this set. Maybe, you're putting your cards on layaway, you gain 6 off this each time you cast it. This reads like a powerful card to me. I think that it has a lot of stuff going. It's really complex. It does look like it's a lot of do nothing, but I think the fact that, if you're one of the things I'm looking for these sagas is like, are two of these chapters good, right? And I think the second and the third chapter are quite good. The first one is kind of like a bonus. You're not going to care about it too much on turn 3 or whatever, because you're just going to have like 1 foretold card maybe. But sometimes you're going to gain like 4-6 life off this thing. I actually like this card quite a bit. I didn't like it at first, but I think this card is quite solid. Definitely a reward more than a reason, I think. But I could see it pulling into reason category if the circumstances arise.
I think the biggest key, and so we should talk, because we're going to be talking about sagas a lot, we should just talk about what, if people have not played with these before, real quick, like when it comes into play, the first chapter happens. Then at the beginning of your first main phase is when it progresses to the next chapter, and when it gets to its final chapter, the trigger goes on the stack, and then you sacrifice it. So you have a window when that third trigger goes on the stack if you want, and any time prior to blink it, bounce it, whatever. I don't know if there's blink, but there is definitely bounce in blue in this format, so you have that as a possibility. Now, the key here, I think, for this is going to be the second chapter. If on that second chapter, you basically get to foretell a spell for free, right? If you get to spend that 2 mana to exile a spell for free-ish, I think that's going to be a pretty big gain. Then potentially, if you then can you then cast, do you already have something in your graveyard, or are you casting something, on your opponent's turn or in your upkeep before this thing pops off or whatever? That I think will be the key to, if you can use that 2 mana efficiently and then get something back in chapter 3. If you can, foretell ends up being, it just depends like what foretell is. Is it a tempo deck? Is blue-white a tempo flyers aggro-ish deck? Or is blue-white a super duper grindy value 2-for-1 deck?
I'm glad you asked that question, actually, because I think one of the things we're going to see in this set, there are so many themes, Ethan. There are like 10, 12 themes in this set. There's, foretell, there's, slight tribal themes, there's snow, I could go on and on. And what that means is it's not going to be, unlike Zendikar, I think, where it's just like you're in your blue-white lane, you know what you're doing. I think what we're going to see instead is there's going to be blue-white decks that are focused more on foretell, blue-white decks that are, grindy foretell, some that are tempo foretell. I think very much like Ikoria, it's very much, you are in the driver's seat. You're the one in control of what your deck is doing, right? You're going to be leaning into a lot of micro synergies in every different draft, right? I think just because the nature of how many different themes and directions you can be going, right? And I think that's something to keep in mind going forward, is that it's very much, all these synergies that we might be saying, oh, this looks like a blue-black card. Could be blue-black, could be, slight blue, whatever. It could go into another color pair, not directly that you might think it would. Getting back to Nico's Defy Destiny, the thing I was thinking about as you were talking there, one of the bottleneck points on foretell is the initial foretelling stage, right? When you're paying 2 to do something, to do nothing, basically, that's kind of sucks, right? Mm-hmm. You get paid back in kind when you get to double spell or get a boost in mana later, right? When you when you actually cast your spell, you're gonna get to. It's gonna be very powerful to go cast a foretell spell for way less than I would normally. Do that again next turn. Do that again next turn. So I think maybe what this card does very, very well is it actually catches you up. You go foretell, foretell, foretell at certain points of the game. Obviously, while casting other spells too, but that gaining 6 life really makes up for the fact that you didn't do a lot in the early turns.
That's a lot of doing nothing, Alex. What you were describing.
I'm not saying you're going foretell, 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 but foretell and then foretell. Cast something cheap. Foretell, cast something cheap, and then cast it and then buy it back. I don't think that's an insane world to live in.
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I'm getting down to brass tacks here because we're, at this rate, we'll be here till tomorrow.
Of course. Yeah.
But I think that, I would give Nico Defies Destiny a role player grade.
Interesting.
I don't think this is a reward for being blue-white.
I think it's definitely a reward, and I can see this getting pulled into Reason.
Wow. Okay. All right. We've already got our first disagreement here. I love that. Okay, next up, we've got our land here, which is Gates of Istval. So each color pair has this ETB tapped spell land. So this taps for a white, and you can pay 2 white, blue, blue, tap, sack it, gain 2, draw 2.
Yeah, these are sweet. So I think across the board, for the most part, there might be exceptions to this, but I think this cycle of 2 colored lands are almost certainly going to be reward, right? I don't think they're going to pull you in and be like, ooh, definitely want to draft blue-white because of this card. It's just a nice little thing. Once you are in blue-white, makes its way to you, and you're like, wow, that's a nice little bonus that I get to put in my deck. And these are powerful, right? Like, anytime you can put a spell on a land that you can use in the late game, great, right? So I think for the most part, I'm actually not even looking at the actual ability of these spells all that much. More just like, these are cool. You're going to play them. Some of them are better than others, and like I said, we'll get into the weeds of that. But I'm happy with this card. I think by nature of what this card is, a land that has a spell ability, it is a reward, not really a reason.
Yeah, I agree. And you think reward, not role player here, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think very much so.
Yeah.
It's reward in the sense too, and this is kind of interesting. Just thinking about the drafting landscape and what it means for finding your lane and stuff. But since there are 3 quote unquote signpost cards, not exactly signposts, but 3 gold cards effectively at uncommon, like you're gonna get some nuts decks where somebody at the table is just like, yeah, I was definitely the only person in blue-white, and I just got all of these cards, like all these nuts gold cards, right? Yeah. So sometimes those cards just aren't opened at the table, but being 3 instead of 1 of them is definitely a nice push in the direction of being really, really rewarded for finding your lane.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So,
all right.
you in agreement on that one?
I'm in agreement with reward for sure.
Sweet. All right, let's go on to our next one. Narfy, Betrayer King. So this is our first instance of snow here. So this is 3 blue-black for a legendary snow creature, Zombie Wizard. Zombie Wizard having ever slight importance. It is a 4/3, and it says, other snow and zombie creatures you control get +1/+1, and you can pay 3 snow mana. Return Narfy Betrayer King from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped.
I think this card is insane. This is like this is like the biggest reason to be blue-black snow.
Yeah, this is kind of I was just going over some of these cards on stream the other day, and I'm just like, this is nuts.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
It's like absolutely nuts.
Yeah. So kind of in the vein of what I was saying about like a blue-black deck maybe not doing just one thing, just doing snow, just doing zombies, just doing your decks can definitely focus. Sorry, different blue-black decks are definitely going to be able to focus on different things, right? And I think with that being said, there are some more controlling blue-black snow builds, but I think there's also some more like tempo-y aggressive blue-black snow builds, where like this being a lord is actually just going to do the aggressive creature lord thing where it comes down, pumps your team, and it's just going to come back forever, right? So even if you're not doing that, this card's going to be quite good. Being snow matters for your cards that care about snow. I think this card's great, and I think this is certainly a reason for being blue-black.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up is the Trickster Gods Heist. 2 blue-black for a saga. Chapter 1, you can exchange control of 2 target creatures. Chapter 2, exchange control of 2 target non-basic, non-creature permanents that share a card type. And Chapter 3 is target player loses 3 life and you gain 3 life.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a lot of fun to just evaluate all these sagas and parse through, just thinking about exactly how these are going to play out. So, at a baseline, this is Switcheroo, right? Just we've seen this card before, and it's been Switcheroo was 5 mana instead of 4, so it's already an upgrade. But the value of Switcheroo is very contextual within the set, right? You want to have expendables, you want to have token makers, stuff like that, right? There's not like infinite expendable stuff in this set, but there's a few things running around. And I can certainly see, you being able to set up either a creature that's gotten value already, or like I said, some expendable creature, a token of some sort, right? So I think you can definitely make that first chapter work.
Right. There's there's a black 2-drop or black 2-drop 1/1 ETBs. It's Burglar Rats. So that's a great thing to go. Cool. Swap this for that. You can swap this for your opponent's saga if it's about to do something cool, Yeah,
on chapter.
And that seems very unlikely to line up, because your opponent has a turn to see this coming, but
yeah. You also have to think, well, maybe I don't want to be losing 3 and then gaining 3. Like maybe that's based on the game state. That's right. Actually gonna matter, right? But it's gonna come up. I think again, going back to how I'm evaluating these sagas, if 2 out of the 3 chapters are good, the third one can be basically flavor text, and I'm going to be happy a lot of the time, right? So I think that second chapter not going to do a lot, but sometimes you're going to have things like, oh, you played your your gold land, whatever, the one we just talked about, the blue white draw 2 gain 2 land, whatever version of that you have. I have a version of that, and I say, well, I rather neither of us actually activate it than both of us activate these at some point, So just small things like that where you trade the lands and you're never going to be able to activate it likely, but means your opponent can't either. So I like this card. I think this is certainly more of a reward than a reason.
That's where I'm at too.
Yeah, but there's going to be decks where this card is quite good.
Because I just think I think if this were single colored, you could make an argument, but the fact that there's setup cost here, not only in the colors for your deck, but the effectiveness of this spell makes me think this is a reward, not a reason.
Yeah, I think so as well. And it's just it's not asking you to do do this and you are very close to winning the game. It's more like a little mini game you jump through and you get some small rewards after,
Right, yeah. Before we move on, just to go back to the Narfy, we should talk briefly about how snow exists in the draft, and that is that the snow lands replace the basic lands. So there will be 1 snow land per pack. And that will either be a snow basic or one of the ETB tapped snow duels. Those duels replace the snow lands. So 24 snow lands available in draft. I actually don't know how that weird Evolving Wilds variant works in that, if it's just a common on its own. There's a colorless land that we'll get to later, but that's how snow works. So it's interesting to think about how you move into snow, because that's sort of an archetype where sometimes, if Modern Horizons was any indicator, where you just snapped up all the snow lands and then tried to reap the rewards later on in the draft. Anyway.
Right, and I believe I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure that the tapped snow land is actually just a common.
Oh,
it's not
great.
Part of the land sprint run. And there's just it's not just to make it clear to everybody else that maybe hasn't seen the full set, there are other ways to produce snow mana. It's not just those 24 land slots. There's other cards that can make snow mana, but you're gonna mostly be relying on those.
Yeah.
All right, next up we have our blue-black land here, Port of Karfell. So this enters tapped, adds blue to your mana pool, and it has 3 blue-black-black, sacrifice Port of Karfell, mill 4 cards, then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped.
That's pretty sweet.
It's nice. Yeah, it's doing, the mill. There's a lot of cards in the set that say they have an additional cost of exile a creature from your graveyard. On top of all the named mechanics. There's actually a few like non-named mechanics, non-named theme, and exiling cards from your graveyard as a cost is one of them. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be filling your graveyard in blue-black with some amount of cards. So the milling both contributes, milling on this card means you have more selection for reanimating and for exiling cards for a cost, and it works the other way too. You're going to be instantly milling. You're going to have more options to bring things back from the yard.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, this is another reward for me. I don't think it's a reason to go into blue-black. Also, a small note. I think we talked about this a little bit before the other day, but there's been some conversation of should you splash these cards in your multicolor decks? And I think it's an interesting question to talk about. By design, these are not great splashes. These are almost analogs to the CCDD cards from Ravnica Allegiance and Guilds of Ravnica. If you want to think of those, Crackling Drake, Rakdos Fire Wheeler, those uncommons that were tricky to cast, but said when you're in this guild, you can take these. Mm-hmm. These are similar to that, not in the sense that their activation have exactly CCDD, blue, black, black, but so I think some people are looking at this card and saying, "Oh, in my my black green deck, I can splash this as it's just a blue to splash, right?" The trick there, and this is a little design trick that they used, is this card adds blue. So this is an off-color land in your black-green deck already, which, isn't the biggest cost in the world, but it's a cost, and I think it's enough of a cost that you're not going to be incentivized to just splash this card in your black-green deck most of the time, right?
Yeah, couldn't have said it better. The one other thing I want to add to this as we evaluate these lands is that it's very easy to look at this and go, 3 blue, black, black.
Yeah.
And then there's the tap ability, and so this is a 7 mana ability, not a 6 mana ability. Right. 7 mana is a lot. Now, it's very cool that you get to, you can do this at instant speed. Now, you're not blowing anyone out in combat because, 1, they would see it as an onboard trick, but 2, the creature comes into play tapped. But it's nice that you can, so far, we haven't seen these say, activate only anytime you could activate a sorcery, right? These are things you can just do whenever. But 7 mana is a lot in Limited. And I think there are very few sets where that is the exception, and I don't think that this will be the case. So, I agree, reward for port. All right. Next up, we've got Cardro Doomscourge. 2 black-red for a 4/3 legendary creature, Demon Berserker. When it enters the battlefield until your next turn, creatures your opponents control attack each combat if able, and attack a player other than you if able. Well, I don't think that's going to be happening. And whenever an attacking creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. What a lot of text. This looks like this could be a rare. I think.
This could be a rare. I wouldn't be surprised, Ethan, if you did the count on the words in this set, and it actually is the most words of any Magic set ever. There are so many words on these cards. So, look at Cardro here. I like this card. I like this card quite a bit. It's just, a reasonably statted body. The ability to just say, this is good. This alone is coming down as a 4/3, which can eat 2/2s or whatever. Plus, whatever other creatures your opponent might have that can be eaten by your creatures. That's really powerful. Or you might just say sometimes, you have a much smaller board than I do. You're trying to be defensive. This comes down, you attack everything in. Maybe I eat one thing, but that means that you're tapped out creature wise. I can attack you back for a lot of damage. So not only are you losing on the exchange of I'm going to eat some creatures, you're going to lose some life from your creatures dying, I'm going to be able to crack you back for a decent chunk of damage.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I like this card quite a bit. It's not telling you to do anything, inherently synergistic other than be aggressive. But the point you're describing also means that it does yes, it's a very aggressive card. That's probably where it's at its best. I assume that means that's what red black is trying to do. If there's any kind of red black grindy deck, this card is also an ace in that deck. Right, yeah, that too. It's fantastic. The life gain on this matters also more than you might think, because there's gonna be a few creatures where you're like, all right, I can't profitably block that. I'll just take that. But you'll make up for that a little bit by gaining the life on some of their creatures dying. So right. I like this card. Do you want to put this in the raw power or
I think I would still say reason. This doesn't quite strike me as bomb status. Yeah. If we were doing grades, I would give this a B+.
Yeah, I would agree.
I wouldn't put it in the A tier yet.
Also, just one other note that I think is important going forward is just talking about the light tribal aspects of the set. Berserker is not so much a tribe that matters. It matters a little bit on a few rares, but you're not gonna take that into your consideration really.
Yeah, agreed. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, really, really do like this card. I'm looking forward to playing this one myself. Next up, we've got Cardro's Vicious Return. He's back, baby. So it's 2 black-red for a saga. First chapter says you may sacrifice a creature. When you do, Cardro's Vicious Return deals 3 damage to any target. Second chapter says each player discards a card. And the third chapter says return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a +1/+1 counter on it. It gains haste until your next turn. Wow.
I love this card so much.
Yeah, this just does a lot.
It does. This feels very like it's not quite as powerful, but close. And I'm blanking on the name. The 5 mana saga. Like they sack a creature, they discard a card, and then you return a creature, planeswalker.
Oh,
Eldest Reborn. There we go.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of Eldest Reborn in terms of its impact on the game, its progression of chapters, and how close it feels to Liliana of the Veil.
Yeah, so I mean, this we were kind of talking about expendable creatures that exist in black, and there are a few. There's a few in red as well. You sack your Burglar Rats variant to this thing, Gil 3. It looks like a lot of hoops to jump through, but it's really not. Like, I think the first time you cast this card, you're going to be like, oh, okay, I get it now, And yeah, I just think this one kind of is bordering on raw power for me.
Yeah, I agree. And this is now 2 cards where I'm like, really want that Burglar Rat elf. So I wonder if we've got a clue to our like the golden egg of the set already, like that sort of like very flexible glue card.
One of the things, I've talked about this in other places, but I think I've actually noticed it was employed in this set because some of the themes are more strong than others, and because they just couldn't make all of the themes very strong. And I think Black Red is one of the themes that is less strong synergistically. Like, there's just not a lot of like my Black Red deck doesn't obviously want to do a synergistic thing. They do juice up the power a little bit on the gold cards if the case is, well, this isn't doing a specific thing. Let's bump up the power on the gold cards to make the Black Red drafter want to draft Black Red a little more, right? And I think we're seeing that a little bit in these last 2 cards here.
Yeah, it does look like you're going to be super rewarded for finding that lane. I mean, with the 3 gold cards at uncommon, and as you said, you're super rewarded for finding that lane. And then if those cards are open and you are the only person drafting that color pair, you're going to get hooked up.
Yeah, I think this card's quite good. Again, I think reward, but reason, but bordering on raw power for me.
I agree with that for sure.
Sweet. All right, what's up next?
All right, Immer Sturm Skullcairn. These names are so epic. ETB's taps for black. 1 black, red. Sack it. It deals 3 damage to target player. That player discards a card. This you can only activate at sorcery speed. So no snagging your opponent's draw step.
Yeah, so I think the discard on this is going to be not irrelevant, but it's going to matter a lot less than 3 damage. I'm basically looking at this card as like a one-time Ramen Up Ruins, where it's just like a bit of reach on your land, which is really nice, right? Just like, if you're thinking of the philosophy of fire, not the fire philosophy, which is very confusing because those are 2 different magic concepts, but the philosophy of fire just says that, if each of your cards deals 3 damage, then you're well on your way to winning the game, right? And so this just being a land that helps you cast your spells early and then just bolts your opponent for the last 3, that's really powerful, right? I like this card quite a bit. Again, not a reason to be in black-red, but when you're in black-red, you're going to like this card quite a bit.
So that's interesting to me because this seems more... And I guess the concept is, so once you know you're in black-red, right? So not a reason... Yeah. I'm like both talking this out for our viewers and listeners here, but also for myself. So not a reason, right? Doesn't pull me into the color pair.
Yeah.
Now, as a reward for being in the color pair, it doesn't seem like a great reward to me. But if I think, look, I'm never going to be short on playables in this format, which I just think is a baseline for limited these days because like everything is playable basically. Sort of that's one of the reasons that I think the 5Rs is a good move here for evaluating cards. But this seems more, it's not like, I mean, it's like role player-y to me in that like you probably take some removal spells over this,
like, for sure.
You're going to be taking some premium, you're taking top commons over this, I would imagine.
There will come a point, though, where you say, look, I've already got 5 removal spells. I'm just going to take this land, right? And I think that's worth making that comparison just to see how, just to show how high, I personally am on this card.
Yeah,
Um,
I think you're almost certainly right, as I will say probably for this entire set review. But you're right. I mean, just the power of having a spell attached to a land, even if it's not a super impactful spell, but deal 3 discard, that is a more than 1-for-1 trade. You know.
Like, do you remember playing Hour Devastation and just your opponent casting or playing Ramanap runes and you being like, oh, now I can't win.
Right,
and now
you stabilize and your opponent plays that.
Yeah.
You stabilize at 4/6. Your opponent plays that, and you go, oh, I'm dead.
This isn't you're not going to be able to get 4-6 damage off this card, but it's not crazy to have 2 of these in your deck, right? And so it's kind of like a little bit of an analog here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do like this card quite a bit. I don't think there's not going to be a lot of gold cards that I don't like, right? These are all by design very powerful.
They're quite powerful.
But,
I think for this in particular, they look pretty powerful too. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next up here, we got another snow card. We got Savella Ice Shaper. So this is 1 red-green. So our Gruul gold card here. Legendary snow creature, Troll Warrior. It's a 2/4. So nice defensive body. 3 mana tap. Create a colorless snow artifact token named Icy Manolith. What do you think Icy Manolith does, Ethan?
I wonder. Does it tap for... Is it a snow permanent that taps for any color?
That's exactly it. It's a snow permanent that taps for any color. So you just poop out Manoliths with this thing. And then it has another activated ability. 6 red-green. Tap, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may cast a spell from among them without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, yeah, I mean, this card is kind of at home in like a maybe not multicolor, but it could be multicolor snow deck, right? And it's just a good mana sink, a good mana production engine. Kind of just does it all. It's all one packet. It's a like little one-man army here.
Yeah, as we said on the podcast this week, it's super interesting. Usually blue-green is where like ramp multicolor exists, and now it looks like that's maybe this card would indicate that's what red-green is trying to do instead.
Yeah, so one of the things I've been figuring out, I've got all these questions that I'm trying to answer in the days leading up to the set and the set review and actually playing the set is, what is green trying to do? Because I think, like usual, green's a little confused, and what I've kind of landed on is I think most of the time, green in the set is just going to be a home for either a multicolor snow deck or a non-snow multicolor deck. But I think what green does best is it is, kind of ramping and fixing and kind of that support color, not so much doing a thing on its own.
Yeah.
So I think if you pair green with red, with blue, with black, even black. Yeah, black is elves, but it can also be snow. I think for the most part, when you're green, you're going to want to prioritize those rampy kind of multicolor cards. And this is, fits right into that. So,
yeah, this card seems reasony to me for now, but I could definitely see it be bumping down to reward.
Yeah, I think so too. Also, like, you can... Does this ignore timing restrictions or no? I'm always foggy on the wording on this. Can you flash something in, like past the turn 8 mana? Your opponent doesn't know what's happening with this card?
I believe so. I
think it might be normal timing restrictions. Maybe
you may cast a spell from among them without paying its mana cost.
Oh, sorry. So like you can't break the timing restrictions, right? Is that?
No, I think you can.
Oh, you can. Interesting. Okay.
It doesn't say you can cast until end of turn.
Then yes, then that's even better. And it looks like that's
pretty huge, right?
Yeah, that's nice too. Your opponent just doesn't know what's going to happen.
And neither do you, though.
Yeah, of course. But they have a harder time making their attack decisions. Anyways, yeah, I agree with you on this. I think it is.
Yeah, I'm starting on that, which is cool. It's a cool change of pace for Gruul, if that's the case.
Yeah, it's nice. It's not just Gruul Smash all the time.
Exactly. Though the saga may indicate otherwise. We've got Arnie Slays the Troll, red-green, first chapter, target creature you control fights up to one target creature you don't control. Chapter 2, add red to your mana pool, put 2 +1/+1 counters on up to one target creature you control. And then Chapter 3, you gain life equal to the greatest power among creatures you control.
Yeah, so... What do you think about this card?
It seems pretty darn good to me. Generally, sorcery speed fight that doesn't pump isn't the best. So there's setup here because I think you really want to make sure Chapter 1 happens. You really want to make sure that it takes something out. And then it just gets better, right? Like you're gonna beef up a creature and then you're gonna gain some life. I think that's all really good for 2 mana. Again, doesn't feel like a reason to me, but definitely feels like a good reward for being in Gruul.
I love Icky in the chat says this is Inscription of Abundance on layaway.
That's
It's
true,
basically
yeah.
all modes of Inscription of Abundance, but you don't get them all at one time, which
Right.
definitely matters. But
Sure,
it's kind of
definitely
funny to frame it
matters.
that way. Yeah, I mean this is certainly it's a nice card. I can't say anything bad about it. It does a lot of good things. Again, it's not like super synergistic or anything, but it doesn't have to be. Right?
Yeah.
I think this card just is going to do a lot of good things in terms of general Magic things you want to do. So
Yeah.
I think again, this is probably a reward, not a reason, but a good reward.
Yeah, for sure. We've got the star of the BBC Sherlock here.
We got Not Vold Slumber Mound. What a great name. So this is the land. Enters the battlefield tapped. You add red to your mana pool when you tap it, and it has an activated ability, 6 mana, 3 red, green. Sacrifice Not Vold Slumber Mound. Destroy target land. Create a 4/4 green troll warrior creature token with trample.
It's 7 mana. This is probably... I mean, this is fine. Again, I feel like all of these lands are going to be rewards. They're not reasons. They're not role players.
Mm-hmm. But it's kind of cool. Like,
it's 7 mana for a 4/4.
Yeah, but the sacrificing a land is going to matter some amount of the time.
Yeah,
right?
blowing up their spell land is kind of cool too.
Yeah, blowing up their spell land. You're gonna really feel great when there's an enchantment in the set that you put on a land that adds additional mana, kind of like a New Horizons style card.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna feel great to just snipe that. Also, if you're ramping, you can potentially cut them off of 5 mana sometimes. Like you just once they get to you ramp this out, cast your whatever ramp spell early. Do this on turn 6 or 5, cut them off of mana, you get a 4/4. Like, that's not bad, right? Like, destroying the land is actually going to matter some amount of the time.
This also plays super well with the uncommon as well. Like, if you have 8 mana, and then you just go pass. Like, your opponent can't attack, because you have a 4/4, you can make it instant speed.
Yep.
And then, but also then you're like, oh, I don't have to do that. I can just pump my 8 mana into my 2/4 and spin the wheel and see what I get,
Also removes snow lands, if that matters too.
Sure.
Things that count snow lands.
All right, is this insane? Is this a reason?
No, I don't think quite. I think we're just iterating on the things we like about this card.
Yeah.
But I think the land, destroy target land, is going to be more relevant than it might seem at first.
Yeah, I think that's true. All right, next up we have Maja. I don't know. Maya. Oh, I love that. How sweet. Maya, Bredegard Protector. 2 green, white. 2/3, other creatures you control get +1/+1, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you create a 1/1 white human warrior creature token.
It's basically just Tendershoot Dryad, right?
It's just it's Tristani, It's
Tristani, yeah, exactly.
Straight up Tristani.
Yeah, so it's fragile, right? 2/3 is not the most resilient body in the world, but it's good. Like, this is the classic. If this sticks, it's great. If it doesn't, kind of sucks, but it's a great card, and it's going to be worth the times that it sticks around, right? 5 mana is a little bit much, and I do worry that green's incentives and white's incentives clash a bit too much in this set. But all things being considered, I think I would put this in the reason to be green-white category.
Yeah. Is there, I can't quite remember. I mean, we'll see when we look through white and green. Are there sort of token producers? Is there a token theme? Is there a go wide thing happening? It didn't seem like that.
Not really, no. There's a few token producers. There's one anthem effect, instant speed anthem effect at common. But generally, and this is kind of why I'm a bit skeptical about this card, just where you're going to be taking it as far as how good the reason to be in this is I don't love what green and white is doing as a color pair. I don't think its cards interact all that well together. And these days, that's really, I think, with these gold cards being so good, I think you really do, when you're trying to figure out early what color pairs are, maybe you're more likely to get into than others, really just look at how well the commons interact with each other, right? And I think, like I said, the green ones tend to be a bit rampier, and the white ones tend to be a bit more aggressive. So I just, just a bit of caution there. I think there's going to be good green-white decks you can have, but it's not going to be one of the more common decks.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and I think I'm going to start this off as reward.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
I think this is too fragile, and I don't know if green-white supports this enough.
Yeah, I can buy that. I'm going to like so I could buy it as reward in the sense of, oh, like this came back around, now I should be green-white, you know, like something like that. Yeah, I actually also would can put myself in that camp. So
yeah. Yeah, it's true. Like the fact that it's legendary also makes it kind of a bummer. Like you can't like loading up on these feels a little bad, but a lot of these are legendary too. So actually, maybe
I think
they all
of
the signposts are legendary. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
We got there. All right, the saga here is Fall of the Imposter, 1 green white. First 2 chapters, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature, and then chapter 3, exile a creature with the greatest power among creatures target opponent controls.
I'm also not as excited about this one. I think it's a little slow. The +1/+1 counter, it's nice, it's cool. But like really, you're looking at like a removal spell, you know, a suspend removal spell that gives you a bit of value. You know, as you're waiting for the removal spell to come off suspend, basically, which is not bad. The exile a creature with you know, greatest power among creatures target opponent controls means sometimes there's going to be, you know, utility creatures or creatures you know, a small flyer or something you actually want to kill and you can't some percentage of the time, but a lot of the time you're going to get your man, right? You're going to get the card you want to get.
I think this card is good.
You like this card?
I think this is a reason, honestly.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm a little bit lower on it.
The biggest problem I think is the suspend removal 2, which like if I'm envisioning green white as an aggressive deck, which this card makes me think it is, because like then I'm interested in going whatever. Maybe I can go 2-drop. Maybe I curve out, and then on turn 5 I can go 2-drop this. But what
I actually like. I'm just imagining the play patterns. I think just you saying that
really
actually
strong.
Works.
Like
right, yeah,
it potentially enables attacks on both turns, right? That you didn't have previously, and then it soul shatters your opponent.
Okay, yeah.
I think this card is kind of great.
I like this card. Yeah. Just the fact that you can go 2, make it a 3, make it a 4, kill something. Yeah, I don't know. I'm on this card.
I was shocked. I was like, what's happening? Alex wants the Dirtle card, and I like this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is much better than that. So, what do you think about it?
I say reason for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's wrong.
I like it. All right. Next up here, we have the land, the Selesnya land, Bredegard Stronghold. Bredegard Stronghold enters the battlefield tapped. It adds green. As green, white, tap, sacrifice Bredegard Stronghold, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures you control. They gain vigilance and lifelink until end of turn. Activate this ability only time you can cast a sorcery. That's pretty nice.
That's pretty nice.
This one's cheap, right? This one is only 4 mana,
but also a perfect example of it being the CCDD. Like it's literally green, white to activate.
Yes, exactly. It's about as cheap as it can be for the design goals that they're going for on these type of cards, right? So yeah, I mean, this is one of the things to consider too about these cards is that the aggressive decks kind of get a little more value out of them than the controlling versions do, because the controlling decks, they're gonna have card draw, they're gonna have stuff to do with their mana in the late game. The aggressive decks, they appreciate their land turning into a spell slightly more, right? So just being able to go 2, 3, 4, this be your turn 5 if you don't have a great 5, turn 5 or something, is really nice. Not even if you don't have a great turn 5, this might just be the best thing to do on turn 5, even if you have another option, right? So yeah, I like this card. Again, this is the same thing.
It could feel very similar to travel preparations. Going this on turn 1, 2-drop, 3-drop, pump my 2 creatures on turn 4. That's a pretty good curve.
Yeah, it's not quite as potent just because the thing with travel prep is just going oh, okay, I can actually never block those things, right? Like that. Right. That's the making them +2/+2 on each of them. But I do think that this is quite good, and I do think travel prep is a good comparison. So again, reward not quite a reason.
Be shocking to see any of these not be just rewards, but
I think so too.
All right, Furia, Judge of Valor. I'm obsessed with this card. 2 white, black, 2/4 flying lifelink. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard.
Yeah, so this is the first in a long line of things that reward you for casting 2 spells in a turn,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there's a lot you can iterate on that idea with. I think the first place to go is just the foretell cards. You're going to be able to foretell 2 cards early and then cast them later, either or cast a card that you have foretold and then cast a really cheap card later. But this also just works off the reward of putting cheap cards in your deck like you want it to do and you should be doing, right?
Yeah.
So this card just is the whole package. It's a great body. This a 5-mana 2/4 lifelink flyer is just great on its own, and then it's just going to start accruing value. And the great part about this is it fuels itself, right? Like you cast 2 spells, you get another one, right?
Yes.
So you're going to be able to keep chaining them if this sticks on the battlefield. It's not like, oh, okay, I did the thing, but I've run out of cards now. No, you're going to get more cards from this.
Yeah, this
right?
is this is such a huge piece of the puzzle. It's not quite an enabler because it's 5 mana, but it's such a huge payoff for casting 2 spells. And I think that's, if we think back to the cards from Zendikar Rising that were the big reasons to do a color pair, they were the things that were both an enabler and a payoff of their archetype. And I think this is that for sure. This is a big reason for Black-White double spell in my mind.
I would just put this as raw power. I think this is like, if we were to give it a letter grade, I'd give this an A-.
Really?
I think this card's really, really good. Yeah, like it stabilizes you the turn it comes down, right? And it can attack and stop you from like the racing is close to impossible, and you're accruing card advantage.
I'm dead. That's not a hard sell for me to put this as raw power. I'm down with that.
And it's like there's there's very slight angel tribal in the set. So
there isn't though.
Like your rares.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Ben kept trying to sell me on angel tribal on the podcast, and I was like, I don't see it, but I'll trust you, buddy.
Yeah. Also, I think worth noting just as conceptualizing what each color pair is trying to do. This, black-white is, again, black-white might be multiple things, but Esper kind of has a lot of payoffs for foretelling cards and double spelling and stuff like that. So, like, both blue-white and white-black kind of are actually pretty similar decks in what they're trying to do. Maybe, black-white might be a bit more grindy, but...
Yeah.
Anyways, let's move on to our next card here. We've got the Black-White Saga. Ascent of the Worthy. This is 1 white-black. The first 2 chapters are the same. They say, choose a creature you control until your next turn. All damage that would be dealt to creatures you control is dealt to that creature instead. So it's, you put pariah, basically. You just put this creature in the way of everything else, and, that's the one that's getting damaged. Chapter 3 says, return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield with a flying counter on it. That creature is an angel warrior in addition to its other types. So... it's like a slow reanimation spell at base value with a little bit of extra value for the first and second chapter.
I was not a fan of this card on first read, and then I started to think about the play pattern. Like, what are the implications it has on the board state? And I became quite excited about it. About what it does to those 2 turns where those 2 chapters are in effect. Now, so let's say you just make it so your worst creature is the thing, right? Whatever. You're a black-white. If we're thinking black-white is this double spell archetype, I think that means it's gonna have a lot of cheap stuff, and so maybe you've got some 1-drop that isn't relevant anymore. Great. So that's the thing that gets sent all the damage. Now your opponent doesn't deal combat damage to any of your other creatures, so you can either swing out and they thought they could make a bunch of trades and now they can't. Or you're on the back foot and now they can't attack you because you can just double and triple block stuff, and all that damage is going to go to this derpy 1-drop.
Yep.
So that's great.
All those things.
So then, well, what if that doesn't happen? Well, then you want to make sure that you've got at least something in your bin you're happy to get back for 3 mana, and that's probably not going to be that hard. This isn't a 3 mana play, or this isn't a turn 3 play is what I mean. Like, this is probably one of the last cards you play from your hand is my guess, but I think this is a very strong card.
Yeah, I I think thinking about the play patterns, thinking about what it does to the game state is definitely the best way to evaluate this card, right? There's also a small combo with this card. There's like a white 5-mana 4/4 common that enters the battlefield, rebuys a enchantment or an artifact. I think it's enchantment or artifact. It might just be enchantment. But you can kind of just loop that forever with this, right? So that's kind of interesting too. Those are the smaller synergies you're gonna really start to recognize once you start playing. But that's just something I noticed on my first read.
That's cool. That's very cool. Because there was Lagana Band Storyteller from Theros Beyond Death.
Right.
Yeah.
Very, very reminiscent of that. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I like this.
I am a fan of this. I kind of want to start with Reason. That may be a little high, but I'm going to start with Reason.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Reward myself.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, the land here is Great Hall of Starnheim.
Actually, worth noting before we go to that, I didn't want to say one thing. It is quite bad for you if your opponent, blows out your creature. They remove it or bounce it or something. That's a yikes.
Yes.
So be careful of that with that card.
Yes, as usual with combat tricks or whatever, like auras. If you think about it as an aura, you can get blown out with removal. That is true. Right. I agree. Next up, for the land here, we've got the Great Hall of Starnheim. Taps for a black, and its sacrifice ability is white, white, black. Sack it, and a creature you control. You make a 4/4 white Angel Warrior creature token with flying and vigilance. Activate it only anytime you can cast a sorcery. Another check mark in the box of Elvish Burglar Rats.
This one's just like, this is great.
This is a Reason, yeah?
It's approaching Reason, yeah. I mean, sacrifice creature's not nothing, but upgrading. It's almost like what was that card from M21? The 2-mana white instant. You exile.
Oh yeah. That card was great.
A little bit like that. Not quite because it plays sorcery speed.
Yeah.
Do a response removal, but it's similar to that.
Yeah.
Also, just again, there's cards that want you to have cards in your graveyard, so you can exile them for a cost. That gets a creature in the grave for that, while not putting you behind on a creature. So it has synergy, it kind of covert synergy in that way. So yeah, I do like this card. Again, I don't think it's quite the Reason, but definitely a Reward.
Yeah, all right. I'll go with Reward here. There's a lot of folks saying oh, you could just never be able to activate it or whatever. The thing is that it's a land. So any time where it's I can't do the thing, well, it doesn't matter because it's just a land.
Yeah.
It enters battlefield tapped. I know we're coming off MDFCs. Let's all chill about that, but it's just a land. It's just a land. Yeah. All right. Next up, we have
Agar, the Freezing Flame. So this is 1 blue-red for a 3/3 giant wizard. Whenever a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls is dealt excess damage, if a giant wizard or spell you control dealt damage to it this turn, draw a card. So weird design space, basically. But if your 4/4 gets blocked by a 3/3, you're gonna draw a card. If your 4 damage removal spell kills a 3/3, you're gonna draw a card. Right? Anything that's more than necessary, you draw a card. If it's a giant wizard or spell.
Yeah. This card seems great to me.
Yeah, all it really asks is that you have large creatures.
So the biggest combo with this is the 5 mana deal 6, but if you control a giant, it only costs 2 to deal 6. So the biggest combo with that this is the biggest combo with that.
Yeah, so I do think that this is a good time to talk about giants as an archetype. One of the decks I'm a little more skeptical about. So this is one that they noted that there's tribal themes in the set, but not super strong tribal themes, and some of the color pairs get more tribal than others. So the 3 color pairs they said we actually implemented tribal themes at common for common and uncommon for these for draft are blue-red giants, black-green elves, and red-white dwarves. And I don't know. The vibe I'm getting from the blue-red giants is it's kind of light tribal stuff. But it's not so much a tribal deck that you'd see, I don't know, in a Strahd type set where it's okay, I am the werewolf deck and there's everything, a lot of things in my deck care about werewolves. I think it's just more slight bonuses for having giants here and there. You're not super incentivized to put giants or wizards in your deck. And the thing that's a little bit troubling for me is just that there are no cheap giants, just by nature of giants. They're all giants. So, just some things to think about. I'm not exactly sure what giants is trying to do as a deck. If it's a controlling deck, I think it's more of a controlling deck. So, again, conceptually, this is a question mark for me.
Okay. So do you want to start off a little rewardy here rather than a reason?
I don't know, because this card is so rawly powerful that I
Yeah.
might just want to give it a reason.
That's what I think too.
Yeah, I think that, like, synergies aside, this is a reason to get pulled into giants, right?
Yeah, I think so too.
Or just blue-red. It doesn't have to be giants. Going back to the whole, every color pair is going to want to do something different in each draft, most likely. I think you don't have to be a giant deck for that card.
The thing about a card like this too is it comes down on turn 3, or whenever it comes down, but let's say it comes down on turn 3, your opponent just has to find removal for this. They have to respect this immediately, no matter how supported your deck is for it.
This also just works on blocks too, right? Like,
right. They attack.
It doesn't.
I mean, they attack. This trades with a 3/2. Draw a card.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is definitely just like
this is
a rawly powerful.
This is just
card.
a big old reason. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm down for that.
All right. Invasion of the Giants is a blue-red for a saga. Chapter 1, scry 2. Chapter 2, draw a card. Then you may reveal a giant card from your hand. When you do, Invasion of the Giants deals 2 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. Chapter 3, the next giant spell you cast this turn costs 2 less to cast. When I read through this, because there's so many words, I did miss draw a card in Chapter 2.
Okay.
So that's better than I thought it was. Because, it replaces itself. This seems similar to... I made this comparison. It feels very Metamized Prophecy to me.
Yeah. When I first read this card, I thought it was 2 to a creature, and I thought it was just nuts. Like, that's just Bone Crusher Giant, right?
Yeah.
Like, pretty much. So, yeah, I think this one is, it's a good bit of value, right? Like, you're right. I think Metamized Prophecy is a good comparison. I think you're gonna very much... I would even say this probably goes to the role player.
I think role player, exactly what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Like, you'll put it in your deck with, but even still, you kind of just need a bunch of giants, right? Like, not a bunch, but you're gonna want 4, 5, 6, 7 giants for this card to be more than like a slow deliberate.
Yeah.
Maybe it's I'm gonna have to play with this card to really get a feel for it, but like, I think it's slow deliberate more often than not. I actually think this might just be replaceable.
That's possible. I think role player in a giant... If both of these cards make me think that blue-red giants is a thing. And if blue-red giants is a thing, there will be decks where all 3 of these chapters are relevant. And I think in that deck, this is good. This is a solid C in that deck.
Yeah, when you can cast your big giant for, on turn 4, your 6-cost giant,
that's pretty cool.
That is quite good.
And this helps you set that up. Or you already have that in your open... Like, this and that in your opening hand, that feels pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. I just think it's so far probably the card I'm least excited about that we've seen.
I could say it is the first role player, I guess, since Nico Defies Destiny. But you loved that card, so never mind.
All right, moving on here to Sirtland Frostpire. These names in these lands are awesome. Enters the battlefield tapped. You add a red mana, and it has a 5-mana activated ability. 2 blue, red. Sacrifice it. You scry 2, and it deals 2 damage to each creature. Holy crap! I actually thought that was target creature at first. It was just a Pyroclasm for 6 mana. Activate this ability at only time.
Just when you want to cast Pyroclasm on turn 6.
Yeah. Well, activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. I mean, the joke here is you have a bunch of giant creatures, all these giants, and then you clear the board of the small things, right?
Yeah, that's the joke for sure.
Hilarious.
What's the joke
what do you think about the card? In what it's doing?
I'm not excited about this card personally.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I actually think it's really good.
I mean, I don't think I can go lower than reward, but I'm not excited about this card.
So one of the things about Pyroclasm style cards is just like the opportunity cost of them being dead is one of the biggest reasons you don't put them in your deck, right? Like your opponent just has a bunch of larger creatures, 3 toughest creatures. It's just not a good card. The times of Pyroclasm is great. It's great, right?
Except, I don't think the times when Pyroclasm is great is turn 6.
I don't think that's true. I mean, like, it's nice to have the flexibility of, like, just kill your 2, kill your 3. But, like, when you're trying to stabilize this control deck, one of the things you have to worry about is just, like, all right, they have, like, 5, 6 creatures. I have maybe 3 creatures. If they draw a combat trick or something, that's pretty bad for me. I lose my biggest creature, they get in for some damage. And just being able to say, nope, that's not true. Your small creatures are now dead. I think that's pretty powerful. I'm more excited about turn 6 Pyroclasm than you might think. I guess is the way I put it.
That seems to be true. I don't know. I
Yeah.
also think like the fact that it depends when they play the land, but that one of the things about Pyroclasm that's good is that in certain matchups your opponent has overextended, and unless this is your tapped land on 5, I'm gonna see this coming. You play this at some point, and then I go, oh, you get to Pyroclasm at some point in this game. Now that's information for me. How do I adjust to that?
Yeah. And it's just like also just like prevents them from playing their 2 toughest creatures too. Like I don't know. I think this card's quite good.
You're giving it like what you would give it like what, a C+, I guess?
No, I'd probably get, like on power level and what it does to the game. I think it's higher than that. I'd give the B- area. So I would say this is not credit. It's a reward, not a role player for me.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm on role player here for the Frostpire.
Yeah. Also, just like setting just like the not to discount the Scry too, right? Just like being like,
sure.
All right, well, we're in the
mid part of the game. Draw a card.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the card a lot.
Yeah.
All right, what's up next?
Herald, King of Skemfar, 1 black-green for a 3/2 with Menace. When ETBs look at the top 5 cards of your library, you may reveal an Elf, Warrior, or Tyvar card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
Yeah, so I think that Elves is one of the decks that's going to be... it's easier to get a density of Elves than basically any of the other creature types in the set that care about other creature types, right? So, whereas some of the other tribal decks are just like incidental, I can imagine a deck where you have 10 Elves in your deck, where this is going to hit, a good percentage of the time. So like, a Cursed Minotaur that draws you an Elf, that's a decent card, right? Definitely a reward tier, but perfectly solid card. Now, I was going through the commons of the Elves, and I noticed that like they're not that exciting. Like there's going to be the 2 variants of the green black decks, right? The kind of the snowy decks and the elf heavy decks. Maybe there's they're doing decks that are doing a little bit of both. So if this card's in your deck, you have to kind of think, all right, well, how much do I want to push my elf theme to make this always hit? You don't probably want to put elves in your deck that you're not going to otherwise, right? I think that's often the cutoff point for tribal cards. It's like, am I going to put cards I wouldn't otherwise?
Right.
Am I going to put them in my deck to make this card better? And no, you're not going to for Herald, right? It's going to be like, if it works, great. If not, it's whatever. So, yeah, I mean, this is definitely a reward tier, not quite reason tier.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
But it's a solid card.
Yeah, seems good to me.
Yeah, I think so too. What do you think about? Well, I was gonna say, what, let's go to the next card because this one's very exciting.
I love this card. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Binding the Old Gods. This is our black-green saga. 2 black-green for a saga. First chapter: destroy target non-land permanent and opponent controls. Okay, that's good. Just comes down, kill something.
Thumbs up. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Chapter 2: search your library for a forest card. Put that onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. You can get a snow land, you can get a snow duel because the duels have land types. That's important. Chapter 3: creatures you control gain death touch until end of turn. I think that is, the kind of the flavor texty chapter of this card, but not to be ignored. I think that's actually going to be more annoying and relevant than it looks.
I think this card is amazing.
Yep, I think this card is really, really good. Again, so black, green, I believe are the 2 colors that I guess red too, but like blue and white have the easiest time picking up and reusing sagas in different ways. I think if I'm looking at ways to reuse this, which I would like to very much and abuse it, you're gonna have a little bit of a harder time. But just I'm happy with this on base rate. It's quite good. Reward / raw power. I don't know. I kind of want to go raw power.
I think I just go raw power on this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is very strong in my mind. Yeah. Yeah.
It's being able to like knock off an enchantment removal spell or something too. It's knowledge limited to the creatures. Yeah, quite good.
Yeah. All right. The land here is Skemfar Elder Hall. Taps for green, and the activated ability is 2 black green. Tap, sack, up to 1 target creature you don't control gets -2/-2 until end of turn, and then you make 2 1/1 Elf Warrior creature tokens at sorcery speed only.
So it's a 6 mana ability to do this. I mean, again, just quite good, right? Like, kill a small creature, get 2 elves. Like, even if you're not killing a small creature, just cash this in for 2 elves. That's not the worst. There's that memorial to, I don't even remember what it was, but the white memorial
to Glory, I think.
Yeah, Glory, yeah, from Dominaria. It was basically this card, right? Just except not the -2, -2.
Yeah, that wasn't very good though, but that had more to do with white not being great than anything else. But I think this I'm into. This
I think one of the things that's interesting to look at these gold cards is that these gold lands is that they have 2 abilities on them. And it's kind of easy to conflate them and be like, how good is this package? But a lot of times you're happy with just one of the abilities, right? Like, you're happy just giving something -2, -2. You're happy just giving, making 2 1/1s, right? All these cards do 2 things for the most part. And I think just making 2 1/1s is quite good.
Yeah, I agree. But again, I'm going reward here for this card.
Yep, I think so. I don't think I would go any higher than that myself either.
All right.
All right, and up next here we got Cold Forge Master. So this is Boros, red-white for a 2/2 dwarf warrior. This is a weird one. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, if it was enchanted or equipped, return it to its owner's hand. And then it says, creature tokens you control that are enchanted or equipped get +1/+1. That's a lot to parse. Man, this is...
Yeah.
Okay, so got the reverse Tiana from Dominaria, where your enchanted creatures they have a bit of protection, which is nice. Enchanted or equipped creatures.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually pretty reasonable. Your enchanted and equipped creatures can just attack with impunity. They come back. I actually maybe that's better than I thought at first.
So the two things to think about for this card are the runes, right, which are auras that replace themselves. So they can be sort of like, with Cole, they can be sort of protection spells as well, or rebuy spells for those. And then also the equipment that has kicker. So red, white has the big angel one and the little dwarf one. So there is support for this. This feels like this is going to come together every 15 drafts or something.
Well, so I think the second line of text is the flavor text-ish, kind of crinkety text, right?
Doesn't seem like tokens is a thing very much.
Well, I mean, yeah, it matters, but very not often. I think the first ability is actually that's real. That screams reason to me. That's powerful.
Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, if it was enchanted or equipped, return it to its owner's hand.
It makes this a must-kill card.
Yeah.
not convinced.
I don't know. Maybe it is. I think it has more to do with the runes and the equipment than it does with this. This is fine, and I agree that is sort of a demands to be answered with style of thing, depending on how your deck supports it. But do you then want to do a bunch of runes and equipment and stuff for this?
There are I'm not super excited about all of the equipment in the set. That's a good question. I'm not excited about all the equipment in the set, but kind of like in Battle for Zendikar, Zendikar Rising, where it's you didn't want the Scavenge Blades or whatever, but if you were the red-white deck, you would get the Cliff-Haven Kite Sails. You're gonna have
true.
You're gonna have your pick of the good enchantments and artifacts, right?
And I would say, and there's red short sword as well. There is colorless stuff too. All right, because when you give me the core Blade Master comparison, that was a reason to draft red white warriors equipment in my mind, and this feels similar to that.
Yeah, I think. Also, right. Just I would put this as a reason. I think this card's quite good.
All right, you know what, Alex, you convinced me. All right, Forging the Tyrite Sword, 1 red white. First 2 chapters create a treasure token. I think this is our first instance of treasure. So treasures are artifact tokens that tap sack to add a mana of any color. And then chapter 3, you search your library for a card named Halvar, God of Battle, or if you're not so lucky, just an equipment card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library.
My gut says no, but of course, with every card that looks terrible on face value, you gotta dig a bit deeper, right?
Yes.
So I think at 2 mana, this card would actually be pretty busted. If you get to pseudo ramp for the next 2 turns, that's really good. Now at 3 mana, not as good, right? Definitely not. Like I don't think this card's gonna be good. I don't think in most of your drafts you're gonna want this card.
This seems
right?
If we're trying to, weave a web of what the color pair is trying to do between the 3 cards. Already there's like huge dissonance between this and the dwarf we just saw.
Right.
Like this is a do nothing spell. Really do nothing for 3 turns. Whereas the dwarf is like creatures, equipment, whatever. So
yeah.
I feel like I'm on the lookout for this being, maybe there's a red-white control deck somewhere.
that wants equipment too. Yeah, it's
maybe. Well, do this on 3, and then on turn 5, you search up that angel one, and you cast it and kick it, and you get a 6/5 flying vigilance. That's not crazy for that to happen.
Yeah, like I hate being saying no to cards. Like me, I hate just being like this isn't great, but I feel like there are. These days, I think the way I'm evaluating cards is like not, is this card good? How good is this card? Like, you're doing that, but also just like, how often will this card be good in my deck? That's the question I'm most often asking.
Very rarely.
And very rarely for this one, right?
Right. Our first replaceable?
Yeah, I think replaceable for sure.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think there are possibly niche applications for it, but nothing at this early in the format that I want to put any money on.
Well, if there's one thing tying these 3 cards together in Boros, go ahead. What do we got here?
Yeah, so we got Asgard Armory. So this is the land. It enters the battlefield tapped. You add white mana. 1 red, white. Sacrifice Asgard Armory. Search your library for an aura card or an equipment card. Reveal them. Put them into your hand and shuffle your library. So this draws you 2 cards. Right, like this isn't just a tutor. It tutors for 2 things. If you have, a rune and an equipment or something.
Well, and whites and bound in gold. Like white common the pacifism effect. It finds removal.
Finds a removal spell. Might be the best of the red white.
No, it's not better than. Well, I don't know. I don't think this is a reason. I don't think it's better than Cole.
Yeah.
But I would say this is a reward again.
I like it though. I do like it. Like I think this is certainly like just around where all the other ones are. I think when we're talking about these lands, it's more just like let's talk about how cool this card is for a bit, more than the actual evaluation. But like this is good. This is good. I'm not going to shy away from putting this card in my deck. I'm going to be happy to put this card in my deck. In fact.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes the red white aura equipment thing feels trinkety to me. It feels like niche. Yeah. These 3 cards make me say, okay, that's the thing. And so then the question becomes, how good is that thing? But it seems very clear to me that that's the thing. That if you're red white, you better have equipment and auras going on.
Well, one of the things too is like, none of these cards, I guess Cole kind of does, but like these last 2 cards don't necessarily play into the base level of red-white. You want all your cards to attack, want all your cards to be aggressive, right? But it also does give them, this card in particular actually, gives them staying power without costing them, opportunity cost in their curve, right? Like, you wouldn't put a divination in your red-white aggressive deck, but this is a divination effect. Like, you want a divination effect. That's inherently a good thing, right? This gives you that. At a low cost.
Yeah,
right?
No, I agree. That's very. Oftentimes these spell land effects are much better in assertive decks than defensive decks because defensive decks already have like 2-for-1s and card advantage, whereas aggressive decks you don't want to just run that like blood beckoning in your red black aggro deck, but you're happy for this.
Yeah, I do like this actually. Like let's
all right.
Let's just say that I'm less excited to draft red white this time around based on those cards.
Ooh,
but
that's saying something.
Yeah, I was gonna say I will not be surprised if it becomes a favorite of mine quickly.
Yeah. Tune in next week to find out. Just find Alex just forcing red white every draft. Okay, so last color pair here. We know we're taking a long time here on these gold cards, but I think especially with the R's as our grade, it's a lot more. There's a lot more to discuss here with especially 3 of each for the uncommons. So we've got Morit of the Frost, 2 green, blue, blue. For a 0/0 legendary snow creature shapeshifter, it's a changeling. You can have it enter the battlefield as a copy of a permanent you control, except it's legendary, and snow in addition to its other types. And if it's a creature, it enters with 2 additional +1/+1 counters on it and has changeling. So there's a lot going on there. Generally, these sort of like, last time we saw this was what was it? The Mirror Mimic, whatever, Glasspool Mimic, the NBFC. But these clone effects that are one-sided. It can only clone stuff on your side. Now this can do any permanent, but for 5 mana, you really hope it's going to be something that is impactful, and that's going to be a creature. And so the nice thing about this is that even if you're cloning a 3/3 or whatever, that it's now a 5/5. So you're going to get a little boost here. So it's a lot better than these effects we've seen before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is just like a solid variant on these clone effects. Like nothing overtly powerful, but it's going to be real. Like, you cast your Augury Aven or Augury Raven, whatever that card is, the foretell 3/3 bird. Becomes like you have that, and then this comes down as a 5/5 version of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Right? Like, adding 2 counters on to a creature, like, generally will change, like, the texture of the landscape or whatever you want to call it of the card. Like, it makes it a very different card. Right?
Zombify effects are not generally good. When we see those Zombify effects that add a +1/+1 counter when it comes in, now we're talking. And this adds 2. So I think you're just...
I was going to say that. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so this just like, the 2 counters is a lot. So that really bumps this up. Like, even at the worst, if you just got a bear floating around, like, this is a 5 mana 4/4, that is probably the, I guess the actual worst is you have nothing, but that's a bad case for a lot of cards. So, I think this really has potential for sure. And if you
it's snow, it's like all these small little things.
Snow, changeling.
Green blues, it's worth talking about. Green blues thing is like, it's generally going to be a snow deck. There's like slight, changeling payoffs, but like very, very minimal. It's generally going to be a snow thing. And this plays into both those little small themes. So yeah, I like this card quite a bit.
Yeah, I would give this a reason.
Yeah, I think I like that as well. All right, next up we've got the 3 seasons. So this is the saga here. So this is blue-green for a 2-mana saga. Chapter 1 says mill 3 cards. All right. Chapter 2 says return up to 2 target snow permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. And Chapter 3 is choose 3 cards in your graveyard. Oh, sorry. Choose 3 cards in each graveyard. Their owners shuffle those cards into their libraries.
Holy cow. Okay, so this is like... What was that?
Binding of
the Titans. There you go. Little Binding of the Titans action.
Draws you 2 cards, right? Mm-hmm. That's pretty nice. And the shuffle, like... Again, this is one of the ones where like you have to kind of evaluate. I would even just say evaluate the 1 chapter here, chapter 2. Mm-hmm. Right, this is 2 mana for a delayed divination. Right, you're not casting this on 2 most. Unless your deck is chock full of snow, you shouldn't.
You should not be casting this on 2. Agreed.
Yeah, even still, most likely shouldn't be. But like this is a cheap way to buy back 2 probably pretty impactful cards in the mid to late game. Right. The mill gives you a little more selection. The shuffling in is nice on both sides because, you're not going to want to shuffle in your opponent's great creatures. But again, there are, those things that those cards that demand exiling creature as a cost. So like you might want to shuffle back some lesser impactful creatures into your opponent's decks. You shuffle back some of your more impactful things. So like it's a nice little package. Basically, it's going to give you a bit of value, a little bit of value plus, I'd say.
Yeah.
So I think this is definitely like more of the role player, a role player saga. But I do like it.
I feel like it's a reward for being heavy snow. That's how I would categorize it. But maybe it's just a role player in heavy snow. Maybe just like 2 mana, some sort of selection of draw 2 is probably it's probably more role player heavy snow than reward.
Yeah, I think in the like. Thinking about Modern Horizons, and like, we're not going to have, it's not going to be the exact same kind of decks as Modern Horizons, but, half of your deck could be snow in Modern Horizons. More than half your deck could be snow creatures and lands, right? So, like, I think, like, some people on chat are saying you're probably only going to get 1 card off of this. I think you're going to get 2 a lot of the time.
Especially if you think about it as a turn 5 or 6. Like, don't think about it as a turn 2 play. Don't let the casting cost fool you.
Yep.
This isn't a turn 2 play.
Agree with that.
All right, our last uncommon here is Litjara Mirror Lake. This enters the battlefield tapped, adds blue, and you can pay 2 GG blue, sacrifice it, create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except it enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it at sorcery speed.
This is just the other gold card.
This is just the other gold card, but for 6 mana tagged onto a land. What the hell? That's crazy.
That's good, yeah.
That's good.
Good, baby. Yeah, I mean, let's. If you want to know what we think about this card, just rewind about a minute and a half, and we'll. Yeah, no, but this is good. This is good. It's a bit worse, of course, because it doesn't come down on curve on 5, and 2 is more than 1. But all the nice things we said about that other card, we're gonna say about this one.
I think the creature is still better. 2 counters is a lot. It being 5 mana, not 6 mana. I recognize this is tacked onto a land. Also, the fact that can copy a non-creature permanent as well.
True, that is true. Yeah.
And that thing is snow. The creature is better than this.
Yes, I agree.
But this is great. I think this is another rock solid reward for being in blue-green.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is the last uncommon gold card we have.
Mm-hmm.
I think just pretty much across the board, and this is to be expected, but we're going to be seeing all these cards. Once we get into the monocolor cards, I think the rewards reasons role players, once we get into the commons too, is going to be more
diverse.
Yeah, it's very much like, yes, obviously these are all role players, or sorry, reasons rewards for the most part, right? And so you're going to expect that. A lot of this is more just priming for the rest of the set review of this is what these colors want to do, right? Mm-hmm. And to frame them that way.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we'll take a look at the rares here, and then we'll move on to our Wooburg order. Okay, so Nico Aris is up first. What is this Planeswalker doing?
More text, more words. So we've got X, white, blue for a Planeswalker. When it has this ability, when Nico Aris enters the battlefield, create X shard tokens. So you can pump as much mana as you want into this to make a bunch of shards, and the shards are enchantments with 2 sacrifice this enchantment, scry 1, and then draw a card. So it's like a clue if you've played with clues before.
Better than a clue.
Better than a clue because you scry 1, yeah. It has, they have 3 starting loyalty, which, is worth noting. It has +1, up to 1 target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. Whenever that creature deals damage this turn, return to its owner's hand. Okay, kind of a weird ability. -1, Nico Aris deals 2 damage to target tapped creature this for each card you've drawn this turn. Okay, also kind of weird. And -1 is create a shard token.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So the sort of baseline for Planeswalkers is, does it protect itself? This does not. I guess the minus, does its plus protect itself? This does not.
Well, it comes down and it kind of does. It comes down and kills a 2-drop.
Yeah, I said it does its plus protect
itself.
itself.
Oh, sorry, there's a plus. Gotcha.
Does its plus protect itself, and it doesn't. This comes down and kills a 2-drop. Can also it's weird because the turn it comes down, you are very unlikely to be able to have drawn multiple cards to have the 2 damage, to have this deal 4 to something, say.
You know what? I think maybe the way to evaluate this is it's just a big draw spell.
It's just a big draw spell. It's a big draw gain. It's Sphinx's Revelation, but it's hidden. It's a secret Sphinx's Revelation, because it's going to gain you a bunch of life and it's going to draw you a bunch of cards.
With for a lot of mana, it's not just okay, I just I've passed on my mana and I tapped out, I untapped with a bunch of cards in hand, but it's you cast this for 5 mana, 6 mana, that draws a bunch of cards, and you can keep drawing cards past that. So it's a very flexible card. That's really nice, right? Some Planeswalkers are very much this does pretty much one thing, but this is good in a lot of different game states, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is good if you want to draw a bunch of cards. Good if you want to get the last few points of damage in. Good if you need to be defensive. I really like.
You can just play this on 3. You go 2-drop into this on 3, and then you just have
the more I read this, the more I like it.
Yeah, seems like reason, not raw power. Unless you disagree to me, or disagree with
I
that?
would put it. Yeah, I think it's not quite the upper echelon. Maybe though, it's really close, honestly. I feel on any parody-ish board state. This is just actually gonna be insane on any parody-ish board state, because you draw a bunch of cards and you're getting in damage,
and it's flexible. Well,
and you can kill things.
Yeah, I guess the fact that this plus is so weird to me. So it really feels like it's a war Planeswalker that only has minuses.
Yeah. I mean,
Like, you can just plus it if you want to add loyalty to it, but I guess you can rebuy an ETB thing or attack with something and then get to replay it as a blocker, so it gives, like, pseudo-vigilance.
Yeah, I think that's the idea. Also, like, kind of helps the blue-white double spelling kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all parts of this card deck, you're just going to be drawing a bunch of cards. I don't know. I think this is a rawly powerful card.
All right, I'm down with raw power. It's a super confusing card.
Yeah, weird card.
Yeah, for sure. Next up, we have the Raven's Warning. It's 1 white blue for a saga. Chapter 1, create a 1/1 bird. Creature token with flying, you gain 2. Chapter 2, whenever one or more creatures you control with flying deal combat damage to a player this turn, look at that player's hand and draw a card. And then Chapter 3, you may put a card you own from outside the game on top of your library. Yes, please!
Wow, what a strange card.
Yeah. This is a. I don't feel like we need to get caught in the weeds here. This feels like a reason to me.
Yeah, it's just very strange. Like,
it's just very strange.
Yeah. Whenever more. Look at. Yeah, no, this is just.
This is just good.
Yeah, you play as in turn 3, you're very happy about it. Like. The third chapter is a little bit weird, but you put lands in your sideboard, and you, if you want to draw a land, you can draw a land. We're
getting a this is worse than previous effects like this we've seen for Chapter 3 specifically. But we have a question in chat about what good on-color cards are you not putting in your deck, and the answer is plenty. Like, when you find the open color, you often have cards. Like, right? You often have to. We're acting like there are never people who are like, I have 43 cards in my deck. What are the 3 cuts? Like,
right, and you don't have to do the third ability. The option is there, and like
right.
Sometimes, a lot of the time, the cards you're cutting are more situational. Right? You're just like, I don't want this card because it's not going to be good in every situation or most situations, and so you can actually search for those for the times that it is good. Right? So that that's the kind of the answer to that there.
Right, and you can also get a land, so that's good if you need that. And we've seen this ability in Limited before. Now it puts it into your hand, but with I'm now forgetting the adventure, Fae of Wishes, and Karn, which could fetch colorless things in War of the Spark. But both of those cards were very good, and just like that was just sort of like you just got to add a card, and it could just be highly medium, and you didn't actually want it in your deck. But then you also could get like silver bullety things, like, oh, I see that I want my Naturalize effect. I didn't put my Invoke the Divine in my main deck, but now I do want to draw it. Like, this is a good effect.
My prediction, Ethan, is you're gonna love blue-white. I feel like blue-white's gonna be your deck.
Oh, mana efficiency and choices? Shocking! What a bold prediction, Alex.
Anyways, what do you like for this card?
I think this is a reason to draft blue-white, personally.
Oh, reason? Wow, I would say it's a reward. I don't think it's quite that good, but
I think it's quite good.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. All right.
Next up, we got King Narfy's Betrayal. So this is 1 blue-black for another saga. Surprise, surprise. Chapter 1 says each player mills 4 cards, then you may exile a creature or planeswalker card from each graveyard. And then those Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 say until end of turn, you may cast spells from among cards exiled with King Narfy's Betrayal, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells. It's like a super draw card. It's like a super, turn after the dust is settled, you play this, and you just get a lot of card selection from both you and your opponent.
That's pretty sick. Again, I would assume this card is not a turn 3 play.
Yeah, no, you're almost certainly not.
You want to play this as your last card, so you have, you also then you have the mana to hopefully cast, like, you've exiled a 5 or a 6 drop, and you can go, okay, cool, cast that.
Yeah, and also just like over the course of 2 turns is nice. Like, you're gonna see the 8 cards or whatever, right? Yeah,
this is a good card. This is a very powerful 2-for-1 over if you get to see all 3 chapters. I'd go.
Oh, hold on.
What?
Hold on.
What?
So each player mills 4 cards, and you may exile a creature. Okay, until end turn, you may cast spells from among cards. Oh, but you only choose the 1 card, right? Unless I'm reading this wrong.
Until end turn, you may cast spells.
Exiled.
Yeah. So of those. Oh, I see. So you get the 2 things. Chapter 1, you mill 4, you choose the 2 things. Yes.
It's not just all the cards. Yeah.
No. Yeah. So it's
okay,
just 2.
Yeah. Okay. So it's still good though. Still,
2 of 8. You're choosing 2 of 8.
Impulse and Gonti then. That's the joke here, right? So
yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, yeah, still good.
Still see,
I think this is
still reason.
Reward, not reason.
Reward?
Yeah.
Do you hate 2-for-1s? Do you hate
a little bit? No.
Impulse? Yeah, Impulse plus Ganti. It's terrible. So bad.
It's a nice card draw spell.
what a nice spell you are. Well, how nice.
Yeah.
All right, we got Immersturm Predator here. 2 black red for a 3/3 flying vampire dragon. When it becomes tapped, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard and put a +1/+1 counter on Immersturm Predator. Sacrifice another creature. Immersturm Predator gains indestructible until end of turn. Tap it. Good God. So this is Falkenrath Aristocrat?
Yeah, this is great. Okay, so straight off the bat, I think we're just gonna give this raw power, almost certainly. Like, this is a very potent and hard to deal with threat. Worth noting that it's actually not impossible to deal with because there's a black common exile removal spell. There's a decent amount of enchantment based removal. So like, not as hard to deal with as you might think. Hard to deal with in combat, but you're not going to have many things that tangle with this. But a lot of the removal spells actually do something reasonable against this. Maybe not straight up kill it or straight up neutralize it, but they do interact with it at some level, right? So it's definitely not to knock it too hard, but it's not just like Dream Trawler level of like I have no ways to interact with this card.
Sure.
Still very good though.
Another card that I'm liking, that Burglar Rat Elf.
Yeah, exactly. So
raw power for sure.
Yeah, I like that a lot. All right. Next up, we have the Blood Sky Massacre. The cool thing about this card, one of the little benefits of sagas is different cool art styles. This is a tattoo.
Yeah.
This is a tattoo on
a tat sleeve.
Yeah, tat sleeve. All right, so this is 1 black red for a saga. For chapter 1, it says create a 2/3 red demon berserker creature token with menace.
Okay.
Chapter 2, whenever a berserker attacks this turn, you draw a card and you lose a life. Chapter 3, add red for each berserker you control until end of turn. You don't lose this mana as steps and phases end.
Yeah, this is like great on turn 3 and gets worse the longer the game progresses. Like, or the later you cast it, I should say.
Yeah, so this is quite well. I mean, even still, like it's gonna, you're almost certainly gonna be able to get in. Your menace creature is gonna want to attack at pretty much any stage of the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're almost always gonna be able to draw the card off of this thing. If you can go, it's just insane actually. If you can go 2-drop berserker into this, draw 2 cards, add a bunch of mana, dump your hand. Not a bunch, but like a big, a boost of mana.
Well, so are we assuming that, like, I haven't done a creature type search. Are we assuming that you can do Berserker Tribal?
It's not like Berserker Tribal. You're not like, look at my Berserker deck. But a lot of the black and red 2-drops are Berserkers.
That's pretty cool. So, and does this say, now this chapter 2, does that mean you draw multiple cards for multiple Berserkers?
Or is it just... looks like it's not one or more.
It's not one or more. So, all right, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I like it.
I think I just go Reason here, personally.
See this? Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, this one I can call. I would say.
This
Reason.
one you're happy with Reason too?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, Twitch chat, we're waking the trolls here. 4 red green. Chapter 1, destroy target land. Sign me up. Chapter 2, put target land card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Chapter 3, choose target opponent. If they control fewer lands than you, create a number of 4/4 green troll warrior creature tokens with trample equal to the difference.
Whew. So. If we're thinking of green red as potentially, the home for a ramp deck, like getting this out on turn 5, kind of like the same thing with the land I was talking about. We're like, it's not crazy. Like, don't view chapter 1 as kind of negligible. Like, getting a land off the battlefield on turn 5 is going to set them back some amount for double spelling, for casting their more expensive spells, for casting their foretell spells that they're planning to cast, and all their hopes and dreams of casting those sweet cards. The chapter 1 is not negligible, right? And then like chapter 3, again, if you're a ramp deck, if you have more mana sources in your deck than your opponent, like making 2 trolls off this is pretty darn nice.
Yeah.
Even one.
So
troll,
here's
right?
my question to you: is there like a cultivate style effect?
No,
in the format?
that is true. But yeah, so you're not going to be like making 5 trolls or whatever, but you're gonna be.
If I get 2 trolls, I'm happy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that is.
It's not crazy.
I don't think that's insane. I don't think that's hard to get to.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish there was a way to get extra lands in play. Yeah, the green enchantment that ramps it uncommon, it puts it into your hand, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe there's a green
So
ghost creature.
There's not a ton of ways to like really go off with this.
Well, I don't think that's crazy to be thinking about when we're looking at the 6-mana rare that says destroy target land as its 4th chapter. Like this is slow, Alex. Right? You're doing 6 mana. You know, the more I think about this, the less I'm excited about this card. You're going 6 mana, do very little.
Mm-hmm.
Next chapter, do very little. Chapter after that, hopefully, make 2 4/4s.
I mean,
If you make one, you are. If you make one, this is not.
Yeah,
no
you're
bueno.
not that happy. Also,
this feels more rewardy, maybe even role playery to me. Like,
I don't think you're going to be first picking this card often, but. No. Yeah. Also, play draw matters too.
Play draw matters a huge amount. I think I'm gonna go role player here for Wake the Trolls.
Okay. Yeah, I can buy that. All right. Next up. What do we have here? We're at Battle for Bredegard. So this is one green white, 3 mana for another saga. I think these are all sagas going forward for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
This is first chapter is create a 1/1 white human warrior token creature. Okay. So 3 mana make a 1/1. The next one is create a 1/1 elf warrior token creature. And then chapter 3 is choose any number of artifact tokens and or creature tokens you control with different names. For each of them, create a token that's a copy of it.
I'm not that excited about this. This seems better for constructed than limited to me.
Yeah. Also, like we noted before, there's not a ton of like go wide tokeny support. Like if there was a ton, like if there were multiple ways to get rewarded for going wide, which there are a few. There's like a creature that pumps your creatures. There's like I said, the common foretell anthem effect.
Mm-hmm.
It's like marginal things. Overall, you're paying 3 mana for 4 tokens, and those tokens, you don't want to get those tokens into combat.
Right, that's the problem. Is like I can't trade off my 1/1 for their 2/1.
Yeah,
and like because that makes the card so much worse. I don't know. This feels like again,
there's just
role play to me.
Not a ton of other tokens. I mean, there's the equipment that create tokens, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I talk about. There's going to be places where you do get just more than what this is, right? But I think this is much more role player than anything.
That's what I think too.
Hey, I guess you make an extra treasure if you have that. That's kind of funny.
Here's some raw power for you. Furia's Retribution. Ooh. I hate this card so much. 1 white black for a saga. It's at rare, which makes me mad. Chapter 1, you make a 4/4 white angel warrior creature token with flying and vigilance, so just 4 mana Sarah Angel. Chapter 2, until end of turn, angels you control gain tap, destroy target creature with power less than this creature's power. Need I remind you, the creature has vigilance, so it can attack first. Chapter 3, angels you control gain double strike until end of turn.
Yeah. This card's great. This is going to be one of the best cards in the set.
Yeah.
Luckily, white and black are not the color of changelings, so you're not going to just have a bunch of angels on the battlefield.
I have not even thought of the changeling implication here.
Yeah, but
wow.
you're gonna man, the times when you have another angel, which is gonna be a non-zero amount of the time, you're gonna feel real good about yourself.
Luckily, it says less power less than, so even if you have like the uncommon 2/4, you're only picking off a 1 power creature. But yeah, what the heck, dude.
So one of the things to consider about this that I think actually does make it a little bit less crazy, like this is a good card for sure. Don't get me wrong, right? But there's a lot of the time you're going to cast this on 4. Your opponent is going to have the removal spells to interact with this. Snap it up. It's not going to be it's not going to be just like a Dream Trawler level card, right? People on chat are like, it's the Dream Trawler of this set. The thing about Dream Trawler,
it's
Glorybringer gets his mana right away, right? That's the thing about both those cards is that like they either did the thing right away or they like had contextual things that made them very, very hard to interact with. This card doesn't quite breach that. Yes. Now, when it does its thing, it's going to be great, right?
You will win the game.
It's not oppressive. Yeah, it's not oppressive in those same ways, right?
Yeah, I think we got someone Klug Alters in chat. A lot of the time your cast is on 4, and your opponent's going to concede.
Yes, I don't want to discount the time that it does just do that, right?
It's going to just win the game a lot of the time.
Yes, my point is not like this card is not as good as you think it is. That's not it. But I don't think it's going to be the, holy crap, I hate this card so much.
It isn't Tetsamok levels of ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I'm trying to get.
But it's close.
It doesn't quite get to the Hall of Fame. I don't think.
Yeah, but
so raw power. I think
that's
fair to say, and that's all she wrote on that. I'd say. All right, next up we got Kaya the Inexorable. So this is 3 white-black for a Planeswalker Kaya, 5 loyalty, so not bad. +1, put a ghost form counter on up to 1 target non-token creature. Okay, it gains when this creature dies or is put into exile, return to its owner's hand and create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. Pretty cool. -3, exile target non-land permanent. All right, just solid value. -7, you get an emblem with the beginning of your upkeep. You may cast a legendary spell from your hand, from your graveyard, or among cards you own in exile without paying its mana cost.
So it basically ensures you can recast this.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
so uptick.
Right away too, right?
Yeah, uptick, ultimate, recast Kaya.
Yeah, just actually straight away you get it back. Huh. That's cool. Okay.
Or not straight away, at the beginning of your upkeep, right?
Sure, at the beginning of your upkeep.
Next turn. But yeah, this is very good. This is raw power.
Yes, this card is great on offense, is great on defense, basically great at every stage of the game as long as you have a board and 5 mana. And even if you don't have a board, it just kills their most important thing and gains you a bit of life. Yep. Yeah, this is probably just going to be one of the best cards in the set.
Yep, for sure.
Yep. I definitely am on board with that.
Next up, we have Battle of Frost and Fire, 3 blue-red for a saga. Chapter 1, it deals 4 damage to each non-giant creature and planeswalker. Hello. Chapter 2, scry 3. Chapter 3, whenever you cast a spell with CMC 5 or greater this turn, draw 2 cards, then discard a card. Oh my god.
This card is also nuts.
This is insane.
I kind of want to say this card might just be better than the black-white one we saw. So
it's very good.
So it's got a little bit more build around than the other card. If you want to take full advantage of the card, right? It's not just like you cast this, does everything you want. But if you have giants, which, again, I'm a little bit skeptical of that, but if you do have the giants, even just one, right? You wrath the board, your giant sticks around to attack, to block, whatever they might throw at you next turn. Then you scry 3, digging to your more important cards, and then you draw more cards.
So this card isn't good enough for you. You need to have foretold some expensive stuff to.
Yeah.
This is a really powerful card.
So I do actually think that's worth noting. There's a few wraths in the format, and a few board wipes to small sweepers, and the effect that they have on foretell has on wraths is kind of interesting, right? And I'm sure we'll get to that once we get to other wraths too. But this is our first big wrath of the set. It kind of works both ways, where you get around the whole I'm doing nothing. You're gonna walk into my wrath. Like most good opponents aren't just gonna walk into your wrath, right? You can disguise that as I'm foretelling cards and I'm doing stuff with my mana. You're playing out your creatures. I wrath. You aren't suspicious. But it also works the other way, where sometimes your opponent's gonna be foretelling cards, and it's like, well, I can't just slam my turn 4, turn 5 wrath because I'm not gonna get most all the cards. So just a little bit something to think about as we're going forward with the field whip effects.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Raw power though, that card is great.
For sure. All right, what's going on with Herald Unites the Elves?
Yeah, Herald Unites the Elves. We've got 2 black-green for a saga. First chapter, you mill 3 cards. You may put an Elf or Tyvar card from your graveyard onto the battlefield, and Tyvar is the Elf Planeswalker. Chapter 2, put a +1/+1 counter on each Elf you control. Okay. And Chapter 3, whenever an Elf you control attacks this turn, target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn.
Yo,
nice.
This. If there's an Elf deck, this is a big reason to draft Elves. You open this pack and pick one, and you're like, all right, Elf time.
This is certainly. I mean, it's like raw power / reason to be drafting that Elf deck, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is very, very good if you cast this on a board of Elves. Like, just close to just game winning.
Yeah. if your creatures are elves or changelings, which black-green has, like...
Yep, or changeling. Yeah, could just be a changeling too. Another great rare saga. Most of these rare sagas are going to be great. It's not, it's not like that's too much of a question, but I think just like figuring out just how often you're going to be a black-green elf deck specifically, because sometimes you are going to be just like we said, more snow deck, and that card's not going to be the best.
Yeah, pretty awkward here that black-green is another rare that isn't an elf. So we have Serulf, Realm Eater, 1 black-green for a 3/3 wolf. Whenever a permanent an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, if it has 1 or more +1/+1 counters on it, you may remove all of them. If you do, exile each other non-land permanent with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of counters removed this way. Interesting.
Yeah, so it's everything that Plague Boiler always wanted to be for the boomers out there.
So this doesn't hit itself, right? So that's important. So if this does get like 3 or 4 counters on it, and then you want to like mini sweep the board, it'll still stick around.
Yeah, this is a sweet card.
Yeah,
this is good. So whenever a permanent opponent control is put in the graveyard. Okay, so combat removal spells, yada yada, and it's just repeatable. I mean, obviously it can just be killed, but it very much limits what they can do.
And it's any permanent, so their sagas going to the bin will trigger this.
Yeah, sagas is kind of funny.
Yeah, okay. I'd say Reason.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it's bordering on.
Bordering on reward. Power. Oh, bordering on raw power.
I think so.
Interesting.
Especially if you just buy this back. Like there's in black green, especially there's ways to buy this back.
Reason. Right? Oh yeah, so, Reason just to draft black green is all I'm saying. Reason exactly. Doesn't have to mean a specific archetype or synergy thing. It could just mean reason to be the color or color pair.
Yeah, but that's a nice one.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, next up here, we got Showdown of the Skalds, I think, right? 2 red, white for a saga. First chapter, exile the top 4 cards of your library until end of turn. You may play those cards. Chapter 2 and 3 say whenever you cast a spell this turn, oh my gosh, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Oh, so wow. Again, this ties into the theme of wanting to put a bunch of cheap cards in your deck. Mm-hmm. That's what you're doing, and in red white you ostensibly have a bunch of cheap cards in your deck. Whew. So the play pattern with this is generally going to play out your early creatures. Maybe on turn 5, 6, 7, you play this, you re-gas up, and you just unleash a flurry of spells, which also pumps your creatures.
Yeah. I hope that's... I don't know, but so this doesn't really... I mean, this plays well-ish if we think red-white is aggressive. I mean, this is just a good card, period. Like,
yes.
This is just... I mean, we could even just call this not quite raw power, but like, if we assume you're going to exile 2 spells, you're getting... It's 4 mana, draw 2, and then for the next 2 turns, spells tack on counters. That's pretty strong.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe I misspoke here, but chat seems to be making this point that it says until the end of your next turn. So it's not just like it's like late at the stage, right? Where
right. So yeah, for chapter 3, you won't be able to cast the spells in exile.
Yeah. It's just you do it, and then the turn the first exactly on chapter 2 you can cast those spells and go to town.
Mm-hmm. But in theory, then you're getting 2 draw you're getting 2 draw steps then for the chapter 3 effect to matter. Yeah, I like this card a lot. I mean, there's not going to be a lot of these rare sagas I don't like, but I think this borders on raw power myself. Yeah, I think I'm on. I think I would still probably give this like B+. So I'm gonna go Reason for Showdown, but I can mark you down for raw power if you want.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
All right, rounding out here.
Yeah, we've got Coma Cosmos Serpent. This is 3 GG blue 6/6 legendary creature serpent, can't be countered. At the beginning of each upkeep, you create a 3/3 blue serpent creature token named Coma's Coil. Sacrifice another serpent, choose 1. Tap target permanent, its activated abilities can't be activated this turn, or Coma gains indestructible until end of turn.
Yeah, so I mean, it's 7 mana, but in your ramp decks, you're often going to get there probably, not crazy to play this on 6, but even on 7, it's quite good. I mean, this is another one of those creatures that's like, if it sticks, you're gonna win, but it's not the most resilient creature in the world until you get to your next turn. Right?
I mean, no, it triggers on your opponent's upkeep too, Alex.
Oh, each upkeep.
It's tender shoot.
Yeah.
This is sort of GG.
Oh yeah, this is each turn. Oh, this is okay. Yeah. I actually didn't read. Okay. Yeah. Missed a word there.
I think we're just on raw power here, baby.
Yeah.
And this is a card that's just like, look, you let your opponent get to 7 mana with double green, double blue. But the thing is like, that's what that color pair does.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yep. Love it. All right.
The Bears, Alex.
The Bears of Litjara. 1 green-blue for a saga. First chapter. Create a 2/2 blue shapeshifter creature token with changeling. Okay. That's kind of cool. Chapter 2. Any number of target shapeshifter creatures you control have base power and toughness of 4/4. That's for good. That's not until end of turn. That's just they become 4/4, right? So your 2/2 attacks is a 4/4. Chapter 3, choose up to a 1 target creature or planeswalker. Each creature with power 4 or greater you control deals damage equal to its power to that permanent.
This is great.
Yeah, it's actually pretty reminiscent of the black-white one. Funny
enough,
enough, right?
Yeah.
It's just like you make a thing.
Thing gets big. Big thing kills other thing.
Not quite as good, but cheaper. Yeah, this is very good.
Well, the fact that the Angel one had the kill ability happen in Chapter 2, not Chapter 3, but...
You know what a lot of these remind me of? I mean, this one, the black-white one, I think a few others, reminds me a lot of... What was the one from Theros? The Iroan games? Is that what it's called? The first Iroan
Make a
games?
1/1, put 3 counters, draw 2.
Yeah.
Like, disruptible if you deal with the creature, and busted if you don't.
Yes, exactly. Just really go off if you don't. It's very similar. So yeah, I mean, this is just another great card. You're gonna...
Is this raw power, do you think?
I think so, yeah, for sure.
I think so too.
It's a delayed Flametongue combo, basically.
All right, so to round these out, we got a couple lands to look at here. The lands are kind of weird. We have some in colorless, some here, but whatever. So there's a cycle of, we've got the now allied dual lands here that are MDFCs. So we've got Henjigate Pathway here as an example. Taps for white on one side, blue on the other. These are rewards once you know you're in the color pair or slash care about splashing, but would not take them higher than that.
Yep, it's the same rider. We're gonna give pretty much every single set
dual
review.
land in every set.
And there's only 4 of them this go around. They did a weird split with Zendikar Rising in this set. There's only 4 of these dual lands instead of the usual 5 because there were 6 the last time. So.
Oh right, that's weird. Yeah. Yeah. And then the last one here is the World Tree. What is this land?
Ooh, this is a spicy one. So this is the World Tree. It's a land. Enters the battlefield tapped. It adds green. As long as you control 6 or more lands you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. So it's like you get a chromatic lantern. And then it has a 10 mana ability, white, blue, black, red, green. Sacrifice the World Tree, search your library for any number of god cards, put them on the battlefield, then shuffle your library.
Hard pass, right? This is never happening. Like,
it's not. No, it's not. I don't think it's a hard pass. This is a good card. It's not gonna be a mid pack card for when you're drafting the snow / multicolored deck.
Snow ramp deck.
So
how many gods are you gonna have?
I think it's very reasonable that you have 1 in basically every draft you have. Not basically every draft, but like I think your chances of having 1 are quite high because there's a lot of gods in this set. Like it's not like Omnicat or Theros where they're all at Mythic. I think there's like 15 gods or something like that in the set.
Yeah, but they're all rare Mythic, right?
Yeah, and changelings. Right, changelings are gods.
So what happens first? You deck or you get to 11 mana?
That's a great point. so one of the things is that I'm not really looking at the last ability, right? Like this is a nice land that helps fix your mana in these like multicolor snow decks at the late stages of the game.
Okay.
Right, and then once you have, there's a lot of things that we've already seen, plus the commons that just do make a superfluous amount of mana. I can see getting to this amount of mana, and it's just like again, I'm not trying to be like, oh, this is like a goal you're trying to get to, but it's a thing to do with a lot of mana, and the reward for getting activating it is you're gonna get a creature or 2.
Yeah. Okay. So what sort of stamp do you want to put on that? Put on this here.
Definitely like like a role player for
Role
sure.
player
It's not,
in 5-color good stuff.
yeah, exactly. You're not gonna like go off with this card or anything, but like it's a card you're gonna be like happy to have in that deck.
Sweet. All right. Well, if you made it to the end of this video, congratulations. That's 2 hours deep on the gold cards, and we'll see you for the next portion of the set review.